Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Monday, July the 21st, 2025 at 6 p.m. Thank you for being here. Welcome tonight. I would ask you to take a look at your telephones as I need to do and take care of any noise makers right now so that we don't have interruptions in our meeting tonight. And remind you, if you come to the podium to speak, please press the button on the right, be sure the red light comes on so we can hear you, get a good YouTube recording tonight. Madam Clerk, all commissioners are here. We're still waiting on our attorney to arrive. I think he's en route. With that, I will introduce our Pastor David Bridges tonight, who'll be bringing our invocation. And he'll be coming, and then following that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, and that'll be First Apostolic Church of Morgan is going to be leading our Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Thank you guys for being here. All right, let's stand together for our invocation, and then the pledge.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you and praise you for this day that you've blessed us with. Thank you for another day that you've given us breath and life, the ability to praise you in all that we say and do. Pray, Lord, that you would bless this meeting tonight. Bless these wonderful leaders that are making lasting decisions for our community. Pray, Lord, that you would guard our minds, our hearts, and our mouths, what we say and what we represent you to be tonight, God. I pray, Lord, that you would touch every person. Bless us and let us give you praise for all that you've done and for who you are. We ask all of these things in the mighty and the wonderful name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. You guys come on up, and we'll follow your leadership, okay? Thank you for being here. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you very much, you guys. Yeah, we can get a picture. Let's come on back, guys. Come on back. All right, gentlemen, this brings us to item number 4, approval of agenda. Gentlemen, you've had the agenda for several days. Any questions concerning the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right, gentlemen, item 5, approval of meeting minutes. You have before you April 7, 2025 Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes unless there's some correction or question.
I make a motion we approve the minutes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Have a number of presentations tonight. First presentation will come from Greenway Public Transportation. This will be presented by Michael Bowman, Executive Director of Greenway Public Transportation. Good evening, Michael. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm here to give you a update and kind of overview of Greenway Public Transportation in the area. So next slide. Greenway provides public transportation for a 4-county region. We operate in Burke, Caldwell, Alexander, and Catawba County. In Burke County, we provide demand response, flex route, and microtransit service in the area. Demand response being like a paratransit or advanced service you can call anywhere in the county 72 hours in advance and book a ride for any reason. Flex route is the routes you'll see in Morganton where they just do a loop like a city bus. And then microtransit is our new service we started providing, and it's the same day service. So you can call same day, get a ride door to door within a service area that we've started. We've had that service running for about 2 years now. Additionally, we contract with both managed care for Medicaid, Motive Care and MTM to provide Medicaid transportation. Greenway provides over 13,000 trips per year with our flex route and microtransit service area in Burke County. The average ridership for flex route is 770 and microtransit is 420. And most of our revenue comes through FTA grants or state grants. Medicaid service provides our local match, and then local governments, we request local match from you guys annually as well. Next slide. Yeah. Our local match, the annual service or local match we ask from each county is just for our demand response service, as well as any allotment from state funds for rope or education and employment benefits. Greenway requires and needs an additional local match for any services we do provide other than demand response service. So outside of our demand response service, when we provide flex and microtransit service, we do require a local match to help fund the grants. Over the last 2 years since I've taken over, we went through a lot of financial backlogs and overdue grant reimbursements that we've had through a lot of changes in our executive and financial leadership. Typically, federal and state grants cover about 50% of our operating expense, and we had CARES Act funding through those years, and they provided 100% of operating expense. Since we finished all of our audits and caught up with our grants, we've been using our fund balance to cover the cost of local match as well. So we're trying to get things up and running a lot better. We do, when we provide this or ask for this local match, we do have a rate setting model. And the current passenger cost is about $40 per passenger per trip. Our flex route and microtransit service cost us about $520,000 per year to operate. And we typically ask local governments and private providers in the area to cover 25% of that. So 50% coming from grants, 25% coming from us, and then 25% coming from other local governments. So what we've been doing over the last 2 years, we did a comprehensive operational analysis. They came back with recommendations from the local public pop-up events. We came out to a lot of different counties. We asked them what they thought of our service, what we needed to improve. They came back with a bunch of recommendations, and they filtered through it and came to us. A lot of it was, extended hours, better service, different routes, or expanded service. Another one of the big things is our technology upgrades. Have an app where people can schedule or pay for fares online and such. So our first big thing we did, we just installed this. It is the automatic passenger count, and it comes with it comes with an app that people are going to be able to download, and it'll show, as you can see here, it'll show the location of all our bus stops in the area on the flex route, as well as where the buses are currently, and it'll show the capacity it's at. This is live. We've got them installed. We're still working through the routes and stuff, but anybody will be able to go online, see this, or download an app and see where the buses are. This comes with a lot of data and metrics for us, and this is the big thing for us, and what I'm excited about trying to move forward with this is it shows us the live passenger count of every stop throughout the day for all of our buses. So when we go to start looking at expanding service or making our service more efficient, we can start looking at what bus stops are being utilized, what bus stops are not being utilized, and look at rerouting and making the routes better and more and quicker so people can have more rides. And expand our service into other locations that maybe we need to expand our service into, shopping, food line, different medical things. so they are able to have more rides. So the number, this is our ridership. I wanted to show this to you. This is a big thing for us. So these are the totals we've had from July of last year through May of this year. As you can see, we have a lot of ridership. We've had a significant increase in ridership, but there it is. In February, we went to fare-free ridership for Burke County for our flex route. So our riderships went from 363 for the month to 788. So going fare-free doubled our ridership for the flex route, and then it continued to increase. As you can see, we went from 788 in February to 1,115 in May. And that was just going fare-free for the flex route. So the intent is you use the public or local match to continue to be able to use fare-free service for the flex route so we can keep increasing our ridership. And as we increase ridership, our grant allotments and grant allocations increase. So then we can provide more additional service and more effective service throughout the area. As well as when we did the COA, in the public comments, they were asking for route changes. So with the APC data, and as we build this through it, we have proposed route changes already. So right now we have a smaller service area. We want to expand some service areas, and our different routes, we want to go from a loop to a dual loop to where it will operate bigger and provide faster service and more service to the areas where people need it. Mainly throughout Morganton and the outskirts of Morganton into the county, so we can kind of increase the ridership for our flex route system. And these are just kind of the maps that show the overview of the changes with that. So the blue route being the current route, and then the purple and green route being the two loop system where they'll meet in the middle and kind of spread out a little bit further. And the remaining slides are kind of the same thing, just kind of a breakdown of that. But that's kind of just the quick overview from this. But over 2 years, we did the COA, the operational analysis. We've increased service. We've asked for a lot of public input and opinion on our service, specifically in the Burke County, to increase the service we have for the flex route and microtransit. Microtransit took off. We replaced one of our flex routes we had that went all the way out to Conley Springs and Drexel, and replaced it with microtransit service. And within a year of implementing that, the ridership we had from that flex route to microtransit increased 400%, and then it continued to increase as we expanded the service zone. So that microtransit was the new thing. It's wherever the same day service in public, a lot of the public transit agencies are getting into it, and it's becoming very popular. So anybody will be able to call same day, get a ride 30 minutes later, go door to door, and it's $250 per trip, so $5 round trip. But you can do that, and we went from one vehicle per day, so now we're up to 3 that we have to run to continue to keep up with the demand. So we're going to continue trying to build on that and keep providing transportation for as many people as we can in the area. But that's the general overview. I mean, if y'all have questions or anything about public transit or what we've been doing, any of the expansions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bowman. Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mike, thanks for what you guys are doing. What is the main demographic of the people that we're picking up? Is it workers, or is it just people needing to get to medical places?
It is a split. We do track, for microtransit, we can track what the reason they're requesting the service. I would say 50% of it is medical, 20% is probably workforce, and then you have a large percent, 30% or so, that's going just your general, I need to go to the store, I need to go pick up, I want to go visit a friend or whatever it is.
There's a lot of workforce in there.
Yes, so we're trying to increase work on our workforce. Our hours, we need to expand our hours to get more of that. So earlier mornings we can get people to work, and kind of later in the evenings to get people home from work. But when I took over, we have about 100 people in our company, and when I took over, we had 44 open positions, and all of those were drivers. And now we have about 6 that we left. So we've increased our driver pool by a lot, which has increased our ridership and cut down on our wait list for a lot of the services. One of the big comments we had was, I've called Greenway and y'all never seem to have availability. And that was true during COVID because we went down 44 drivers. We just could only take what we could. And a lot of those were, subscription services for dialysis or medical trips to get people where they needed to go. But now that we've increased our drivers, we're able to get back into the general public and help with work and all the different other things that they need. Thank you.
Other questions?
Just one quick question. Y'all have a route, and you may have mentioned this, but that runs to our senior centers?
Yes, we have routes. Those are like the demand response, the subscription services. We work with them, and we'll do our, whatever interval they have where we run pick up senior centers and help them out. So yeah, our main demographics would, when you look at through all the information, our main ridership is, a lot of the elderly who can't, maybe they want to stay at home, but they don't have transportation, but having public transportation or these services allows them to stay at home a little bit longer. And then a lot of, we try to focus our zones when we create them around, no car households or single car households that would utilize public transportation. It's a weird area to have. You can't really have city buses like you would in a downtown because you have so many rural where you got to drive way out somewhere to help them out. So it's really hard to build things, but we try to focus in on using the demographics that the COG provides of, where the highest zone where we could utilize, provide the most service.
And are all your vehicles, everyone I've seen is pretty similar, basically the same? Do you have like different size vehicles for different
So
routes?
yeah, we start with the transit vans, and all of our vehicles are ADA compatible. They have wheelchairs
That's what I was
and we
gonna
helped
ask.
with the fire that happened last Sunday, Grace Heights, is that what it was? So we helped transport, they called us, we came in and, because we have the biggest fleet and we transported them everywhere. We have the transit vans, we have 20-foot LTVs, 22-foot LTVs, and 24-foot LTVs that we use in this. And then we have the big 35-foot buses that we use in Catawba, but they're just too big for some of these areas here. But yeah, we work with emergency management and help as much as we can transport, because we can transport a lot of, especially wheelchairs, faster than a lot of other, because we have just the fleet to be able to do it.
Questions? All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. I'll entertain a motion to accept this report as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the report as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Barry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Brings us to item number 2 under presentations, emergency management update. This will be presented by our EMS Director, James Robinson. Evening, James.
Evening, gentlemen, Madam Clerk. Hope everybody's doing well this evening. It's been a very busy day for us. My day actually started at 3 o'clock this morning, so this presentation is almost lined up as perfectly as we can possibly do when we talk about the restructure. So we're about 150 days in at this point. As everybody knows, from the restructure standpoint, we discussed the movement of emergency management from the fire marshal's office over to emergency services, which aligns with emergency medical services as well. That completely aligns with the strategic plan. So I think we actually could hit all 5 areas if we wanted to sit down and talk about all 5 areas, but specifically focus area 3 with public safety and the well-being of our community. This movement definitely emphasizes that. So the manager has shared this slide multiple times. I know you've all seen this many, many times, but understanding that we recognized a need for some change and we reacted to a situation and we began to rethink the purpose and the values of the current state of operations that we had with emergency management being lined up underneath the fire marshal's office. That really became evident during and after the hurricane, as the fire marshal's office just became inundated with a lot of emergency management functions. And that's just not fruitful for us as a county to be able to maintain several things. So in the spirit of rethinking and seeing where we can get things, that's where the movement of those positions, those FTEs within the departments came in. So strategic planning, as everybody knows, is the necessity for the success of completing 4 competing priorities in resource management and allocation. If emergency services is not successful on big events, it's because we didn't plan for those. I put Mayhem up there because I think he's, absolutely perfect in the line of work that I am in. And I think that several of you are seeing this firsthand with what we do and the interactions that we're having. He does not pre-schedule. He didn't call me at 3 o'clock this morning and say, hey, James, I need you to go to the Linville Gorge for somebody who's in need. I just got the phone call and we got up and we did what we're supposed to do, right? So it's very important that we think about that restructure and how does that meet during this crisscross right here for preparedness and opportunity. So I know we've also seen this slide many times. How do we go from good to better to best? What is the ultimate that we can possibly be? And within emergency medical services, we try to promote our employees by getting them some continuing education, as well as opportunities to advance themselves. These are just several of the credentials that if employees come to us and say, hey, we want to learn how to be a paramedic better. We want to learn how to be an EMT better. These are classes that we can help to promote, and we actually support our individuals. We get them covered when it's their day to work. We cover that with staffing, matrix, and there's some of them on here that are specific to this wilderness environment that we have within our county that we have to address. We also work directly, and Western Piedmont was here in the room. We work directly with them for our academy. We have a paramedic academy. We start people from citizen and we pay them 40 hours a week all the way through till they complete their paramedic credentialing. That is hugely important because in an industry right now that is short paramedics, everybody is competing for priorities and everybody is competing for these personnel when they come out, and we're seeing that across the board. Our daily operations for EMS are guided by a couple general statutes and, of course, administrative code. The administrative code there at the top outlines that anywhere within the border of Burke County, local government's required to provide them an EMS system. Some people do that under contract. We have chosen to have our own EMS system, and I'm blessed to be part of the leadership team that has that. 30% of Burke County is public lands. That's natural resources that NC Parks or Wildlife or U.S. Forest Service, somebody else owns, that the general public has access to. One of the things that I think is amazing is the amount of trails that we have here in our community, and I'll discuss that here in just a minute, but we're required to provide the highest level of care, which is an ALS provider, for these events, even in the wilderness setting, if it happens within our geographical area. General Statute 166A establishes the local emergency management principles, but that also outlines what we're required to do for search and rescue response. In your packets that the clerk provided for you, those are hyperlinks that can take you directly to those so that you can look into that a little bit further if you'd like. In the spirit of rethinking, our reorganization. So if you look all the way to the left, you can see that the Fire Marshal's office was very heavily laden with emergency management work. We had some struggles with getting our compliance in check with commercial fire inspections, as well as some occupancy inspections, and it makes sense when you have so much emergency management piled onto one department. You can see now we've pretty much aligned it. It's almost 7 and 7. Hazmat response will remain a shared response because of expertise and the equipment that we actually have to move for that. So it's very important that we continue to partner. The Fire Marshal's office and emergency services all look at each other as we are one. We may have different hierarchies and leadership that we answer to, but at the end of the day, we know that we're all responding and what that's actually going to look like. So from an FTE standpoint, the Fire Marshal's office now has 4 FTEs, and that's going to be the Chief Fire Marshal, the Deputy Fire Marshal, an Inspector, and Investigator. And then Emergency Services, which carries the bulk now of this emergency management. We've got an Emergency Management Manager. There was an article in the paper recently. He's on vacation today, so we hope he's enjoying his time. Our Emergency Management Planner, Quinn Reese, she's in the back. She's brand new with us. She actually served as a paramedic within our organization, and she carries a lot of emergency management certifications. She's going to be a great asset when it comes to the response and in the planning position. And then, of course, emergency services staffing. We've got 95 full-time employees, 20 part-time employees, and inside of that becomes our special operations team. And our special operations team is embedded intentionally so that as shift work comes up, we have people on every shift that is ready to respond to the call. So this is our daily staffing matrix. Emergency management has the manager and planner that are working the 40-hour weeks, give or take, and then they get their comp time for anything that's overtime. And then we have our Burke County EMS 4 shifts, which are 24/72 shifts. Every shift is run by a captain. There's a lieutenant that runs in the QRV in the east, and then there's a training sergeant, as well as 2 field officers, which are there to work on training and making sure that everybody is functioning to the expectations of Burke County Emergency Services. Our special operations teams, it's 25 members strong at this point, and we continue to look and recruit other members that have all the qualifications and certifications that we would need to be able to put them on a part-time roster to be able to help us to offset the cost of search and rescue, but also make sure that we have enough personnel to respond every time the pager goes off. Our events medicine team is outstanding. They have been working extra shifts and they've been working additional events. And I'll have a small report on that. As we start talking about what our special operations team manages, urban search and rescue in partnership with Burke Rescue, Swiftwater Search and Rescue, helicopter search and rescue, mountain rescue teams, and the wilderness search and rescue. These training courses are all met or all required by emergency management, North Carolina Emergency Management, and they set the standard for that. I'm very proud to report that Burke County, between partnership with the rescue squad as well as emergency services, we meet 4 out of 5 of those. We do not currently have any NC Heart Team members that live here within the county, but everything else we meet the requirements for. And that's outstanding for us to be able to promote business and industry and work within our communities. Special operation requires our team members to successfully complete the OSFM Technical Rescuer Series, as well as the North Carolina Emergency Management Mountain Search and Rescue Series. We partner with Western Piedmont Community College and NC Terms to make sure that those courses are available. The hours on these courses continues to go up. And when somebody expresses interest in being part of this team, if they have 0 to start with, that incurs overtime for the training, but without the training, we cannot effectively put these individuals into this environment for rescue. Our events team, Crawdad Stadium, they stay very busy there. While we're out there, and this is the really cool part, we take the opportunity to teach hands-only CPR to everybody that comes in the gate that's willing to stop in and have a conversation. What better way to showcase that Burke County has a team that's caring and committed to ensuring. We all know that CPR matters, and CPR time's what saves lives in the end. We also participate in jobs fairs, the historic Morganton Festival, multiple motocross races, foot races, Spartan events, and of course the athletic standbys that we do for the public school system as required. 489 individuals that we can actually document that we have taught hands-only CPR. Doesn't matter what their age is, if they're interested in learning, our team is teaching. So some things that I'd like to highlight. Across the state of North Carolina, officials are documenting that an average of 12% decrease in volunteerism every single year. We're seeing that across our fire departments. We're seeing that in the responses that we have for each of these events. This decrease creates gaps in coverage and response and massive gaps in expertise as people start aging out of emergency services. It becomes really difficult to start sending 65 and 70-year-olds into the woods to do some of these rescues. It's great to have their leadership expertise, but how can they carry some of these folks out? We need to encourage young people to be involved. That's part of the reason for decreasing volunteers is an increase in training, as I already mentioned, as well as the increase in educational components and the cost. Paramedic curriculum, when I took it a long time ago in 2001, I was able to complete it in about 4.5 months. It's now over a year's worth of program. So that is actually discouraging some individuals that are looking for career opportunities from doing that unless we can engage them in our EMS Academy, and that's been hugely successful for us. Burke County, in cooperation with Burke County Rescue Squad, is the primary contracted department that meets the emergency management requirements for search and rescue. And then when we exceed the personnel that we have or the ability to move some of these patients, we do what's called a countywide all-call through our communication center, and that is a request for anybody who's trained, that has a technical rescue or scope of practice to be able to respond. A little bit of SAR statistics for this year. On the average year, we average between 100 and 125 search and rescues. Our projection for this year is approximately 200. Now, there's a lot of contributing factors to this. Part of it is people were penned up after the hurricane and now they're all exploring the woods. The other part of it is increasing public lands. There's a lot that goes into this, but at 200 calls, that's a massive call volume from a volunteer and paid perspective. It ends up costing the county approximately $202,000 a year in overtime from a response standpoint. That does not include the dollars and cents that are spent out of volunteer pockets or volunteer agencies to help us respond. Up here on the screen is 2 specific SARs that we've had this year that we had multiple hours engaged in. The one on the left is a map. Yep, that's a very rural section. That's right here just outside of Morganton. We had a missing subject that was reported to law enforcement. We're fortunate that we have a great working relationship with the Sheriff's Office and Morganton Department of Public Safety and the county, and they said, start asking some questions and let's see what we can do. Through partnership, we were able to find this individual and we were able to provide closure for his family. The one on the right, this could have been a multi-hour, 36-hour easily extrication. A recent book that was published, 200 Waterfalls in Western North Carolina, has made our job incredibly challenging this year. We have people that are going into creeks that have never been crossed or not normally crossed by inexperienced hikers because they seen a picture in a book and they thought it was a great opportunity to go for a hike. This particular call was very inaccessible. The extrication time on this, we spent 18 hours on this call, and had we not had a helicopter come in and extricate this patient, we would have been there probably a full 36 hours with every resource that we had available to respond. The 10 essentials of hiking. So a great thing to remember about this month, we are averaging 1 search every single day so far for the month of July. And most of them could have been prevented. We're asking everybody to take a moment, even after this presentation, when we know it's available online, look at the 10 essentials of hiking. Make sure that you have all 10 with you, no matter how long you think you're going to be in the woods. Last night's event is another example. Had they had navigation headlamp, first aid, knife, fire starting equipment, shelter building, a little bit of extra food and water, as well as some extra clothes and maybe some sun protection, we probably would not have been out there looking for individuals at 3 o'clock in the morning that got themselves in trouble. So 150 days of achievement. What can we say that's absolutely positive about this? Commercial fire inspections have increased. We've got a new fire investigator who's getting ready to come off from probationary period. The end goal is to be 80% in compliance for the fiscal year of 26, and we are actively moving towards that. In talking with the fire marshal's office, he feels very confident that's going to be a very achievable goal, and we're excited to make that as an opportunity. They also have implemented, new fire investigation software that will help them for documentation and accountability. It will also increase time management and make documents more readily available upon requests. They're also working in the communities for further education and community involvement. Emergency management has multiple training events with organizations that are required for these exercises for their tier reporting system, including Case Farms, Broughton Hospital, and many others. This is going to be great for operational and interagency operations as we continue to move into the future. It promotes partnerships that are beyond words. There has been more coordination and use of personnel to align between agencies, including our special operations personnel. We have multiple large-scale events so far, and we're managing coordination. We're also cross-training personnel in emergency services to help us to navigate what is going to be the future of emergency management here in Burke County. That's critically important. These things all came to fruition and were readily available for us to use during the Grace Heights fire on 7/13/2025. I'm going to take a moment to ask everybody who participated in that, if you will please stand over here next to this wall for me. Morganton, Burke County. Sheriff, you had folks that were there, Communication Center, General Services. Corey, you had people that were there? Yeah. Commissioners, I can't express to you high enough the gratitude that I have for all these individuals. I'd like to take a minute to just explain what our day was on July the 13th. For some of us, they were off duty. The two in uniforms were off duty. They were enjoying time with their families, doing things on their own, and we paged out for an all call because we had a situation that was going on. And they came in and they worked tirelessly for the next 10 hours. It was exhausting. The city of Morganton, those that were on duty, were doing the normal thing. And then at just before 1 p.m., a dispatch went in for a commercial fire alarm with water flow at Grace Heights Health and Rehabilitation. Upon arrival, crews found smoke and active fire in the building with an activated sprinkler system. I'm very thankful Unified Command was established with the city of Morganton. Evacuation of the residents had begun, even in the midst of fire suppression and extinguishment. That says a lot. Weather conditions that day were hot and humid with highs at 90 degrees. Patients were being evacuated as quickly as possible, even under sprinkler heads that were raining down water. They were moved to the shady side of the building, which was actually behind the structure, while suppression efforts were being continued. Immediate recognition that the heat was going to be a contributing factor to the decline of any of these patients that remained outside prompted us to start thinking about what we were going to do for temporary sheltering. A phone call was made to the county manager. Ryan, I can't thank you enough for your response. He, in turn, made other phone calls, and we were able to open up the Foothills Higher Education Center. DSS was contacted, Health Department, Law Enforcement, School Bus Garage, Foothills Transport, Greenway Transport, you name it, our communication center was making phone calls left and right. If you have not had the opportunity to listen to some of the radio traffic that's been posted on social media, I encourage you to look it up and just listen to what the ComSpecs had to listen to for those few minutes, right? It's absolutely exhausting. In all, 20 patients were moved to UNC Blue Ridge by EMS units that were considered level red as triage by providers that were on the scene. 71 patients were moved to the Foothills Higher Education Center, where our Assistant Medical Director, Brent Curry, along with other county staff, including the county manager, general services that opened the building up, Parks and Rec individuals, again, DSS, several others, we set up a makeshift temporary shelter. Brent did an outstanding job of getting everybody organized based on their halls, so we knew that people would be familiar with those that were around them, and it would be easier to track and provide accountability for this. In all, 91 patients were moved in 1 hour and 53 minutes. That was the first time, 1 hour and 53 minutes. Once there, the American Red Cross reached out to me and said, "What can we do?" And I said, "I need food and I need refreshments for our staff." We didn't realize in those moments that a lot of other local agencies were going to be donating food, and we're very appreciative of that. She showed up and shuttled water and made sure that everybody had food or drink in their hands the entire time. Next became the reunification process. Working in the Unified Command with Sandstone leadership, all patients were able to be moved in a transportation package that was also helped and established with our area coordinator, Eric Wiseman. We can't express our appreciation enough to him. He came from his home down and responded and helped us to coordinate this entire event. Multiple agencies to be able to use our mass casualty medical plan. At that time, realizing that these patients were going to have to be relocated even within the Sandstone system, mass transit was organized by North Carolina EM from Mecklenburg County, Buncombe County, Greenway Transportation, Caldwell County had their unit that was also there. And all patients were ultimately placed in long-term solutions by 10 p.m. that night. That's exhausting. When you listen to the radio traffic for the entire county, including all of the patients that were moved not once but twice, some of them 3 times, because the ones that were transported to the hospital were ultimately discharged if they had no injuries, and we moved those over so that they could be with the rest of the group to be able to either relocated or reunited with their families. It's amazing what happened that day. But in a hall, we had over 196 individuals, if you count all those patients, plus what was going on in the county. Other crews that were on duty that day were responding to cardiac arrests, car accidents, structure fires, you name it. It was going on in the middle of it, and we were able to work together. I express sincere appreciation to all of our neighbor counties. They also sent an EMS unit to the county line, so Caldwell, Catawba, McDowell, Cleveland, all had units that were staged at our county line, and all of them assisted us with other call volume that exceeded our capabilities that particular day. So I'd like to just take a moment to humbly express my gratitude to all of those that are standing over there that spent tireless hours, worked in unified command on a very exhausting day. And to you, I say thank you to each of you. Julie is our Sandstone representative. She was our administrator on scene. If it wouldn't have been for this woman, I had already sent an email out to Health and Human Services to say, I need to know every single bed that's available in the state of North Carolina now, because I didn't know what we were going to end up doing. She was able to coordinate the movement of all 91 of those individuals and make sure that they had a place to go.
Well, it wasn't just me. We had other staff there. But thank you for letting me come tonight. And I really just wanted to come and on behalf of Grace Heights and Sandstone Health and Rehab, I have never seen anything like July 13th, Sunday night. It was a terrible situation, and these guys were calm. They made residents feel safe. They made staff calm down. They just felt everything was under control. They had the entire incident under control. You never felt like we weren't going to get anything done. They just said, okay, what do we need to do now? Brent kept us in line with who we could send out, who we couldn't send out. So I cannot tell you how grateful we are for everyone that helped that night and what an amazing job they did. And I have told that to everybody that I can tell it to. So I want to applaud all of you all and thank you from the bottom of my heart. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Last but not least, I do want to provide you an update. We had discussed the trail marker system in a previous meeting. I wanted to give you an update. This is not the final, but this is what's going to start going up. You're going to start seeing these. Even as we speak right now, we currently have a rescue that's underway. We're probably just finishing up on a very established trail system, but because the individual couldn't give their location, specific location or a general location, we had to do a lot of search in order to get to them. We were able to ping a cell phone, which gives you a relative area, but there's a lot that goes into this. So at this big black sign will be at every trailhead that we can put them at, and working with all of the trail partners that we have here in Burke County. The blue signs will be made and they'll be put up at the discretion of the individual trail keepers, and we will be working with that. Those maps that you've seen up on my presentation, that's a product called SAR-Topo, and we use that within emergency management on the rescue side of things. Every one of these blue signs that goes up will be geotagged within that SAR-Topo. So if some individual says, I just passed, and we'll just throw up their RR from a trail perspective, it doesn't matter what number, they can tell us whatever number's on that sign. We will know their location based on GPS, so we'll be able to faster access those individuals and know what resources it's going to be in. I just want to be able to provide you all an update. This is for you guys to have and show if you're in meetings or demonstrations. And I did want to showcase the Great Trail State because I was a part of that meeting recently. I was happy to be part of that, and I'm excited about it. But this year has been exhausting because everybody's been using every one of those trails, and we want them to do it safely. So we're hoping that these blue markers will make things a little bit more efficient for us being able to locate individuals. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about my presentation or about our restructure as a whole.
All right, thank you, James. Any questions to James on his report tonight?
I just had a comment and then a question, James. Thank you guys and everybody that's here, and I'm sure many that weren't here tonight that assisted in that incident, Grace Heights. But you were saying that we spent about $202,000 just in overtime, so I'm assuming that means 300 plus or maybe more in search and rescue missions. And you actually kind of answered part of it with that sign you brought up. I didn't know as I was going through this packet earlier today. But, you know, if you go to, I haven't hiked in the gorge in a while, but when I did, I didn't see a lot of there are some signs at some of the trailheads that talk a little bit about it, but, Grandfather Mountain, I've been up there recently, and when you get up on those courses, there's some big signs that say, hey, this is extreme, experienced hikers only.
Yep.
And so I was kind of wondering at those busy trailheads where we know we're going to have issues with inexperienced hikers, is there a way that we might be able to put some signage that might even scare people a little bit that aren't experienced to say, hey, it's dangerous down in here.
So there's a recognized difference between what we have in the Linville Gorge, which makes it slightly unique, versus Grandfather Mountain and other areas. The Linville Gorge is part of a designated wilderness area, which is intentionally, there's very limited signs and very limited access points to that, so that it is considered more pristine forested area, and there's not a lot of man-made stuff. So any extra signs, and we're working with US to be able to put something similar to this at those trailheads, but you can't trail marker the signs down once you get out of the parking lot, once you get off the roadway. So I believe it's 25 feet off the roadway. After that, there is no signage down in there intentionally, because it is a designated wilderness area, and it's intentionally supposed to be remote and rugged, and you're not supposed to feel like you're walking on the greenway and all of those things. So it's actually protected, and any of those signs that are put up are actually taken down by the trail keepers, and they are removed.
I'm sure the U.S. Forest Service isn't reimbursing us for our expenses to go down and rescue people, so maybe they could.
We have a meeting with them tomorrow, actually. Senator Tillis and Congressman Moore's office have helped us facilitate a meeting tomorrow for that, so we can present some of this data. It's really, and I think the total cost is around 200. I think we'll probably tip 300 this year because of the high volume. But we've been able to go back and look at 125 search and rescues per year, 80% of that being in federal wilderness. Average response time, 6.5, 7 hours. Most of these responders are not exempt, so we have an overtime factor. It's not the only factor. There's also equipment and all those type of things, but there is economic reality to the search and rescue, and we hope to have a meaningful discussion about that with those folks tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
I've got a question. James, thanks for all you guys do. Do we coordinate everything up at Jonas Ridge when we do stuff like this? When you talking about getting a helicopter and stuff, do we like a helipad up there and stuff like that? Nothing like that?
So we have designated landing zones that we have pre-marked and pre-established within our communication center in the same SAR topo or the same platform. So large fields that we know that are accessible for that. If you've ever gone up 181, a lot of times we use what's called the Apple House before you get to Steel Creek Park. That's what the designated name for that LZ. They're great stewards of that. They keep that mode for us. We have to use it quite frequently. So unless it's like a really busy holiday, very rarely is there campers that are parked in that area, and they've authorized us to use that, and we use it a lot. The reality of it is, once upon a time, we could use the Brown Mountain Overlook, but there's just so much traffic now to try to get everybody out of there to be able to use that. It's just not it's very time consuming to be able to do that. So we do have a lot of areas, but we don't have any concrete designated heli spots.
The helicopters called in a lot. Is that all the time, or is that?
So it is a life or limb incident, and if you look, we have to actually justify what that is going to be. So in order for us to use the helicopter on that previous extrication that I was talking about, I actually had to talk to North Carolina and South Carolina leadership at the state level, and then they actually have to make some phone calls to the federal level to get authorization for using military aircraft to do those missions. Essentially, if we had to pay out of pocket for that mission, by the time you pay fuel and the whole 9 yards, it's going to be a $500,000 or greater mission if you cost just the runtime and the aircraft time. We had over $1 million in assets that were there, and 45 individuals that were either volunteering or on the clock to make that extrication happen.
And during a thunderstorm, as I recall.
It was, yes. So a little backstory behind it, it's kind of, I don't know, I think it's important to understand. We had passing showers that were coming through over and over again. In South Carolina, the pilot was talking to me on the radio, and he said, I have a 20-minute window and I'm going to do one quick flyover. We're going to ready equipment, and then we're going to go in and we're going to be able to do that extrication. He got over top of the scene and he took one look at it and seen the weather coming and said, we're ready and now. And I had to, Chief Taylor was out there. He was organizing the people that were boots on the ground that were with the patient. I was in what we use in our unified command post. And I had to very quickly radio him and say, they're not going anywhere. They're like readying it now and they're coming down. And he, at 19 minutes, was pulling pitch and coming up out of there, and the rain was falling. If it had taken another 5 minutes, he wouldn't have been able to complete that mission. So we're grateful for partnerships with North Carolina Emergency Management, with all of the responders that we have, because we can't do it alone, and we need every single one of them. But there's a lot that goes into this.
Other questions? All right. James, again, thank you very much for all that you and your folks do. And one other comment. Yes, sir.
If y'all, please, if y'all just take just 1 second, I just want to express my appreciation. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief, City of Morganton Public Safety, and just want to take just a second, and I'll be real brief, in regards to my appreciation to the interoperability that we do have with the county, particularly with the Department of Emergency Services, that the restructuring has been great for us. And specifically directly to the incident of the Foothills Drive incident. That was our jurisdiction. We obviously know, all of us, we try to be very dependent on our resources, on our own departments, but we all know that we try to be self-sufficient, but we do not have the assets and the resources to make that happen dependently. And so I'm very grateful for the interoperability, and I want to credit a couple of things. Number one is me and James has had multiple conversations prior to this incident. Just some multiple meetings we've had and ongoing meetings. We've got some things that we're working on to better ourselves and working in partnership relation between the city and the county, particularly emergency services. And I just want to credit that to the operational continuity that we had that day on the scene. I was not there personally, I was out of town, however, I was on the phone a lot that day. The two gentlemen sitting in the back was there and very much engaged in that incident. But I just want to express my appreciation to the networking that we currently have, and to the partnership that we currently have, and also the continuing partnership that I see for us going down the road in the days to come with that. So I just want to express my appreciation to his department, along with everyone sitting behind me, that he's already recognized. I won't go through that again, but I just want to say thank you very much for what they've done. They showed up in a big way to support us, and obviously mitigating the things that we had going on that day in all different disciplines, whether it be the emergency services or whether it be in the fire marshal's office. All of those folks showed up and helped, and it took everybody. And I wanted to say thank you for all that very much. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Again, thank you all, and all throughout the community, of course, a response of that nature and a facility of that type, folks all throughout the community have had nothing but wonderful things to say and appreciation for all that everybody did to make that a successful day. So again, thank you very much. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to accept this report.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the report as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Stroud. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. All right, this brings us to item number 3. County Manager is going to make this introduction to Meg's Place.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And before we move on, I would just like to point out, each of you, we did conduct a pretty comprehensive after-action report that's at your place for you all to review. So I appreciate that. But our next item here, I appreciate the opportunity to offer a little more insight. We're trying to stay consistent with bringing some recognition and some visibility to the foster care network and world and children in need. And with the board's support, we started last month, but I'd like to continue some level of recognition each month. And this month we have Ms. Amber with us. She can come on up, and she's just here to tell us about Meg's Place and what they do, and well, not just Meg's Place, but her foundation also. And just super appreciative and excited. I've enjoyed getting to know you, and wanted to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about what you all are doing.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I don't have a fancy presentation for you, but I do have these if you want to take one. That's just a little brochure, but, so I'm Amber Vest, and I'm with the Live Like Megan Foundation. I'm the executive founder and director of Live Like Megan, and we have a home called Meg's Place under the foundation that, where we try to bridge gaps in the foster care community. I have been a foster parent for 21 years this year, and we've adopted 4 children, so it's near and dear to my heart. The name Meg's Place came from my daughter, Megan, who passed away in May of 2020 after a fight with leukemia and brain cancer. And in doing that, in her passing away, her dad and I just wanted to kind of dive into the foster community to help more children and to kind of give us a reason to move on in life too. So what Meg's Place is a home that helps house foster children who don't have a place to go. So while they're waiting foster care placement, sometimes children find themselves at the DSS office sleeping. This is a huge issue all around the country. It's not just here in Burke County, it's all around. So I'm from McDowell County, and we originate there, and our home is located in McDowell County. What kind of prompted this? One of the things is I picked up 2 children in the foster care system off of the floor of DSS. They were on a mat sleeping. And, you know, I knew at that time when I picked up those children that something had to change. So Meg's Place gives this home idea for children, that they have a bed to sleep in, because currently when they sleep in the office, they're on a cot or a couch. It gives them the ability to have a kitchen that is stocked with food, so they're not having to eat fast food all the time, like what usually ends up happening. And it gives them also a place to where they can play, they can feel safe, and not like they're in a building having to live. Because can you imagine being removed from your home anyway and then having to go feel like no one wants you, no one cares about you, to sleep in the DSS office? Even though that's not the case, that's just what it feels like to these children. So helping that trauma piece also is a huge deal for us, because we don't want to add trauma to them by sleeping in the DSS office. So this home, we offer a resource center, so they can have clothes, shoes, toys, things like that. In return also, this helps the foster parents who are taken in placement. So when you get a placement, most of the time these children come with nothing. So the foster parents are able to come there, they're able to get clothes and all the things that they need for children, if it's a car seat, if it's a crib, whatever that looks like. So that kind of eases that burden on them, that initial time of getting this new child in their home. It's very stressful. I can speak from experience. It's very stressful to take in a placement and have to go shopping that very week to buy a new wardrobe and whatever else you might need. And it's also very costly. So this cuts down on foster parent cost. And some of the things that I wanted to kind of point out to you as I talked to Chaslyn Thomas, who's the program supervisor over there and at DSS. And so some of the numbers that you guys have from 6/24 last year till 6/25, June of this year, you guys had 160 nights spent at DSS with children. To break that down a little more, from January to now, 109 nights that you guys have had children sleeping at the DSS office. So that, goes to show that a Meg's Place would be very beneficial in this area. And that would be the goal, is that we could bring a home here that you guys wouldn't have to be sleeping at the DSS office with children. This would also give the workers a comfortable place to sit and do their paperwork or whatever they need to do while trying to find placement for that child. We also go a little beyond that. We offer some programs. We assist with some reunification efforts. So if a parent is working a case plan and they're trying to get their children back, we can offer them things like cribs if they need it for when their child comes home, or beds, or washer and dryer, or couches, whatever that looks like, to help that family be able to get to the place they need to be in to get their children back. We have a kinship fund for kids that come into kinship care. So that would be like grandma, aunts, uncles raising their children or their grandchildren. That would offer them some assistance to help with clothing and things like that, the same as we would help a foster parent when they come into custody. We offer support groups for foster parents, and what this does is helps give foster parents, foster families an opportunity to come out to be with other foster families. And we offer childcare and a meal, so they can come, because it's usually at mealtime, and their children can go play while they get 2 hours of training to go towards their relicensing credit, because every year foster parents have to have a certain amount of hours to get relicensed. In our resource center it's always open to DSS to also be able to pull items out of there for families who are taking placement that, maybe they don't come through the home to sleep there, but they can come there and get all the items that they need to go when they go into foster care. Basically, what we do is we go out to the churches and we talk to community, try to gain rapport into the community. I have spoken at several different churches, and that's one of the big people that we try to pull in to help us. Businesses, we write grants, things like that. So that's how we come up with the money to be able to do these things. We, as Meg's Place, Live Like Megan Foundation, we want to be able to help Burke County too. We're currently in McDowell, already up and running for a year. It's been over a year. It's been very profitable in our community. We're working in Yancey County also, and Burke County is our next county if you guys are willing to have us here. So that's kind of a little, in a nutshell, what we are and who we are, but I've been working very closely with Chaslin and Corey to try to, see the numbers and things like that, to know where we're at and what is needed directly, because I want to tailor it to per county, what you guys need, because every county is different. So, but that's just kind of in a nutshell who we are and what we are. Do you guys have any questions or?
All right, thank you, Amber. Any questions for Amber?
I just have a comment, Amber. Thank you for what you're doing. I've heard from McDowell DSS. I work with them some through my job, and they've told me what a big asset that your organization has been. And I know you've got a meeting set up with our local Baptist Association soon that I'm sorry I'm going to miss. And I'm going to try to help you as well with some of the other pastors, associated with my work. And I hope that we as a county can figure out how to get you here, because I go with Corey and the group. I'm on the board here locally with DSS, and so I hear his briefings, and it saddens me deeply to go see the nice place that he's put together. I mean, it looks nice, but it is in a DSS building. So I look forward to trying to get you help here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may too, I would just add, on August the 14th at 8 a.m., I think in this room, Kay, is that right? We're going to host a breakfast for a lot of our pastors and faith leaders, and certainly last month we had One More, One Less, which is, a foster parent recruitment organization started by a pastor in Cleveland County, and so it invited him, and would love to invite you too to again tell your story. I think that we have a couple strategies, but it's also a priority for us to try to not normalize that unfortunate circumstance that's happening in the foster care world. That's just one component, but I think it's certainly adds trauma to an already very troubling situation.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
I really just want to comment on something you said. You said basically that's what we do. The first thing that popped in my mind was love kids, and I want to thank you for that.
All right, thanks very much. Need no action on this item. Item number 4, Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail. This is going to be presented tonight by Colonel Brian Oliver, Executive Director, and Dr. Bryant Lindsay, Board President of the group in this area. Evening, gentlemen. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. Okay, it's live. Good. I don't have to try to figure that out. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of the board, county staff, Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing us to be here tonight to represent the Over Mountain Victory State Trail. All of my previous meetings in Burke County were either as principal of Forest Hill School or Freedom High School years ago, when the vice chairman and I were colleagues for several years. So It's my first opportunity to represent this organization and to speak to the Board of Commissioners. So thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. Now, the best news I have is we brought money. That's good news. I do want to just say very briefly, we work with 11 different counties. Our trail, based on the current history, the documented history, our trail passes through 11 different counties, including the county that I live in now, which is Caldwell County. But I first learned about the significance of Quaker Meadows to the Over Mountain Victory Trail while I was principal at Freedom High School. And that had a huge impact on me. There's a reason that Freedom High School is home of the Freedom Patriots. And we should all be very proud of that. But I want to say that working with all those different counties we work with, having the opportunity to work with people like Sarah and Alan, allows us to make great things happen for trails in each of those counties. And you've already heard, and you're going to hear more, Burke County has a lot of great things happening with trails. It's impressive what's happening. A lot of good people are doing a lot of really good work for the trail system in Burke County, and it's having a huge impact. We're just proud to be part of that. We have a letter for you that goes with the check. I'm just going to read that briefly, if you don't mind. From Over Mountain Victory, North Carolina State Trail, we are the Friends Board, to the Burke County Board of Commissioners regarding matching funds for the Canal Bridge Pedestrian Walkway Project. Members of the board, we are pleased to present you with the funding that was recently approved by the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources for the segment of the Over Mountain Victory State Trail and Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail that passes through the Canal Bridge area. Today's check of $160,130 represents the approved matching funds amount for Over Mountain Victory North Carolina State Trail in partnership with Fontaflora State Trail and Burke County. With all of North Carolina's activity during America 250 NC leading up to July 4th, 2026, as well as other semi-quincentennial activities which may be anticipated through October 7th of 2030, which is the 250 of the Battle of Kings Mountain, and September 3rd of 2033, which is the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. This and other projects have regional, state, and national implications. We look forward to visiting again in the future as this project becomes part of the overall trails experience in Burke County and our state. Thank you and the many members of the community for the shared passion for and vision of the Over Mountain Victory Trail. If any additional information is required, please let us know. I'll be followed by our board president, Dr. Bryant Lindsay. And I know you already know him.
It'll be very brief. You wanted you to look at the map. You saw a previous map like this, and I think the first time that any of you saw this, there were only about 30-some counties that had agreed to have county committees. Burke County led the way. All of our counties along our current trail are in, and right now there are 81 counties in, and we continue to reach out to other counties that are not yet in so that they can become part of the endeavor that you all have been frankly leading the way with respect to. And I also wanted you to look very briefly at this form, which is the new website for America's Semi-Quincentennial Committee. You don't have time to read that right now, but what we are seeing right now, and I think probably the speaker could attest to this, we're seeing people on the governor's side of government and people on the legislative side that both want to make America 250 NC effective, not only in terms of the governor's department, but also in terms of the legislature. And we are very fortunate that we, in terms of both of the chairpersons in the legislature, who are in charge of America's Semi-Quincentennial Committee. One of them is, Senator Ted Alexander, who grew up here, went to Freedom High School. I understand. And then, of course, you, Blackwell. The America Summit Quincentennial Committee is having a meeting this Thursday, and we'll be there. Any of that you want to watch that, even without being there, you can. But my personal feeling is that you will continue to see cooperation between the legislature and the governor's shop in terms of making good things happen. The third thing I wanted you to look at was the announcement, and I haven't seen any paper coverage yet of this, and that is the announcements of Western North Carolina grants. If you will look at that particular form, you will see in green print that Burke County is represented by a number of different grants. The closer we can work with all of the folks that are involved with those grants, the greater impact that they can have. And we are very blessed by those grants at this point. So didn't want to walk away without you, having been made aware of those particular grants. And they're not, and we go beyond that as well in terms of the Over Mountain Victory Trail, but wanted you to be aware of that. And now Colonel is going to give you some money, and he's not sure who should get it, but he's going to give it to Kay. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, and by the way, we are very grateful for folks in your shop, Brian. We see a great deal of professionalism and support from Sarah Chabon and from Alan Glines and from your staff, if you don't mind our being complimentary. Thank you.
Gentlemen, if you'll just come right here, we're going to come down and take a quick photo.
We didn't bring any funny hat. Well, I only brought one funny hat, so. Come on, man. You're going to be with it? Alan, come on.
Ready?
Yes, sir. Thanks.
All right, gentlemen, any questions, comment on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say I appreciate the folks that work on that Over Mountain Victory Trail. That's important to me, as all the trails are in Burke County, especially that one. And I'll do everything I ever can do to make sure that trail stays there, and we recognize what our forefathers did. A lot of people don't realize wherever you got a road or a trail today, that thing's probably been there thousands of years. It was used by Native Americans before the Europeans ever got here. So I thank you for what you do, and keep up the good work.
All right, thank you very much. Other comments? All right, thank you very much again. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here, and thank you for the contribution to this cause. That takes us on to item number 5. This is to be presented by the county manager, presentations of Citizens Academy. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, something that I'm here to give an update on and seek your endorsement for really something that's never been done in Burke County, and that is an opportunity to really at a grassroots level interface with our citizens in our community and get feedback. Something that we talk about as a cultural component of who we are is trying to get better. And Chief Robinson made some of those remarks earlier, but a component of getting better is receiving feedback and having an opportunity and a platform where ideas can be exchanged. And really that's what, through conversations with many of you, and it's your leadership and direction, we've been talking about now for some time. I think originally back at your strategic planning work session in March. And many of you endorsed that as a priority. It is on your strategic plan. under the community advancement focus area. And we think that we're now well positioned to begin to launch that program. Just a quick overview, a Citizens Academy is largely just a group of folks who have interest in the operational components and being embedded into county government, want to learn more, but also want to offer their talents and feedback into how we may get better. We think that we can use this type of tool to help provide some knowledge about what we do, are responsible for as county government, how we're formed, things we may not be responsible for. Maybe it's gaps in the community that, that we could try to help. I also think that it provides an opportunity for people to be involved. Boards and commissions, we certainly know that we have lots of those, and that's an example of making sure that our community understands the roles and how important some of those opportunities are. Certainly always, this type of tool is a good way to, I think, build relationship with our community, with members of our community. And so a very simple approach, and remember, for this is something that certainly is fluid and the board could make modifications to. But given that it's our first attempt at this, we wanted to start kind of small and have some lessons learned and iron out the kinks. So we'll be proposing 10 participants in our first academy. We envision it being 6 weeks long, meeting once per week on Thursdays for about 90 minutes. We think we can do one in the fall and one in the spring each year, and we can grow the membership each session as we get a little bit better and a little bit more efficient. We think we could be prepared to start as early as September the 11th, and something like a 5:30 to 7 schedule, something like that. Again, as a framework, as something to talk about, and we know that this is likely going to evolve and get better. But I've kind of put together a rough schedule of what we would cover in that 6-week curriculum. And what I think is important to understand is this is not a lecture-based platform where folks just come in and listen to PowerPoint slides and data. We're meeting in different facilities of the county. We're touching ambulances. We're going to the landfill and understanding what are the operational complexities and what are the components that make that thing go. Walking through a 911 center, looking inside of an ambulance, like I said, meeting going to the senior center. So each of these, from week to week, we want to try to first tie it to the commissioner's strategic plan, but also really have an interactive opportunity for people to experience local government and then give us more candid feedback. So for week one, we also tried to, and obviously, all board members are invited, but we wanted to try to identify a board member that kind of own each week. So the way that we've originally laid it out is that week one would be here, and we would talk about all things county government. What is county government? What's our purpose? How are we formed by the state? Generally, how do we administer? From a finance and an HR and a strategic planning perspective, what are the things that we're working on? And it's kind of what we're calling County Government 101. Week two would be at our solid waste facility, but all about enterprise funds. What is an enterprise fund? And I think that solid waste is just fascinating because it's much more complicated than just garbage. It's really expensive. It's really high risk. It's really important to things like air quality and water quality and agriculture and wildlife. And we want an opportunity to share some of those things and what our long-term vision is for that. Week three is our focus on public safety, where we would meet at the 911 center and really highlight all of our public safety divisions. Week four being human services. So a lot of the things we just talked about with Amber about foster care and that we've been trying to highlight week to week. We can take a little deeper dive into those type things. Week five would be community services, and then week six would be largely a summary and a closeout and a synopsis of all the things that we talked about. So each week is, again, interactive. There'll be an opportunity for people to get involved, ask questions. Hopefully our board will be we'll see that as something that you guys support and endorse and give us the opportunity to do it. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know that's very brief, Mr. Chairman, but if you all approve this, and I'll let Scott pull up the website, the application process would be the same as any other board or commission. So right on our website, you can go, how do I? And then there's boards and commissions applications. Citizens Academy, at least temporarily, is there. And people can apply on this page. And then also, if folks have specific questions about it, there's a link there under the residence tab that talks about the curriculum and the membership group. So again, happy to answer any questions you all may have, but we're excited that this may be an opportunity to pursue.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Gentlemen, any questions on this item? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I went through a Citizens Academy with the police services here in town, law enforcement with Morganton, and man, that was a real enlightening thing. So I think this is a great move for people, you know, that want to know what's going on. This is a great way of being transparent. A lot of times you don't realize what's going on behind the scenes. You think you do, but till you get there and you see what they reveal and show what they're having to deal with all the time, gives you a real appreciation and keep your mouth shut. And appreciate your leaders.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the Burke County Citizens Academy program as presented.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Manager. This brings us to item number 7 tonight, scheduled public hearings. This item comes from Community Development, Zoning Map Amendment ZMA 2025-04. Be presented tonight by Alan Glines, our Planning Director. Good evening, Alan.
Good evening. There we go. Thank you, Commissioners, members of the public. For your review tonight, under a public hearing is a map amendment request to rezone a single tract, 4.5 acres from the Conservation District to Residential 1. The applicants are Brian and Marissa Deacon, and that property address is 3594 North Powerhouse Road. This is an image of the property itself. It's a 4.5 acre tract. It sits right there by the dam, and that is currently zoned conservation. And this is sort of a context map of the current zoning, showing R1 surrounding the lake in a number of neighborhoods and areas throughout, and then conservation and some of the other territories in this same district. The applicants have stated that they would like to divide that property so they can create one additional lot and then have that for a single-family home for a family member. The Conservation District requires a 3-acre minimum, and so it would not work with this tract on its own unless it was rezoned. I'll show you for some context. This section through here was one of the lately developed properties of Crescent Communities. And it was not until 2016 that larger tract, about 15 acres or so, was subdivided and sold. And so the first one is the one that we're talking about. This tract here was the first one, but these other tracts came later through a subsequent subdivision the next year. Maybe they figured out that they would sell them a little smaller, make them a little bit smaller. All those have a single family home on them. All those lots are about 1.5 acres. So there's not too many of them that meet the minimum at this time. Across the lake, when you're a lakefront property, regardless of your zoning, R1, conservation, or what it might be, you have a very similar lake buffering requirements throughout. It has nothing to do with the conservation name of that district. It's because you're on the lakefront and you have lakefront standards that apply to everybody the same. And so how that works is the first 50 feet are meant to be undisturbed at all. There might be a very small view corridor within that 50 feet, but the rest of the trees and understory material would be left intact. Then the next 50 feet is a similar fashion, but can have a little bit more disturbance, like maybe just setting things in a walkway or things like that. So that's like basically 100 feet of buffer before a residence can be established there. And that carries over if this is R1 or conservation. But the conservation district itself has been, in our use, kind of a mixed-use district. You can have things that are non-residential, like a marina or a restaurant or other things that would support the lake use. But of course, in the R1, you can only do residential uses. It's our most restrictive district. So the Deegans understand that if they do move the whole tract to R1, they'll only be able to put a house on it, and they're okay with that. So that's the request. As far as the comprehensive plan goes, we use the 2030 Blueprint Burke Strategic Plan, and I'm going to show it to you here. I'm sorry, it's blue on blue, but this is the future land use category for this whole area is it's Lake James Scenic, and so that's the future use. The intent of that Lake James Scenic is to recognize that single-family uses, some non-residential uses like the campground, like a marina, those kinds of things could also accompany that. So if it was changed tonight to the zoning district to R1, it would still fit with our future land use map. We don't need to adjust the future land use map because it is more flexible in this area. The staff have felt comfortable with that change because, as you can see from this map, we have the same district kind of like very much in view shed here of the request that the folks are trying to get to. And we think the single family use is supported by our comp plan and by the goals of the family. Now, the planning board did review this at their meeting, and they voted unanimously to recommend approval to come your way. So that comes with their support. I do understand that the Deegans were traveling tonight and they couldn't be here tonight, and also they've been working with excuse me, Todd Bennick, who does a lot of work on the lake, and he just wasn't feeling well tonight. He stopped in, but he's just feeling under the weather, and I told him I would do my best to cover for him if there's questions that were about the lakefront or other things. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions for you or go for it.
Right. Thank you, Alan. Gentlemen, any questions on this item before I open the public hearing? Seeing and hearing none, I'll open the public hearing at this time. Do we have anyone here tonight to speak to this item? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. And gentlemen, at this time, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve and adopt ordinance number 2025-09 as it relates to ZMA 2025-04 for the parcel corresponding to PIN number 1753-33-3286 to rezone a single parcel from conservation to residential 1, R1. The request is reasonable and in the public interest because the request is in keeping with the character of the other residential uses adjacent to and in the surrounding neighborhood of this parcel. And the Blueprint Burke Strategic Land Use Plan supports and recommends additional single-family uses in the Lake James Scenic Overlay Future Land Use category.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor of that motion, signify by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0. Thank you, Alan. Appreciate it very much. All right, gentlemen, we've been going for about an hour and a half. We got quite a ways to go. I'm going to give you a 5-minute recess. This time we'll come back 5 minutes. All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call the meeting back to order. This time it'll bring us to item number 8, informal public comments for tonight. Madam Clerk, do we have any folks who wish to make public comment tonight?
Yes, sir. We have a couple of people signed up. We'll start out with Miss Cindy Brown.
All right, Ms.
Katie
Brown.
Brown, Cindy Brown. Katie Brown.
Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Cindy Brown. My address is in Catawba County, 1515 Steeple Street.
Thank you.
I was not expecting to go first, so here we go. First, I apologize for my attire. I just came out of shift. My background is I've been a paramedic for 20 years, critical care and teaching, and now I do care on caring, hospice. The reason is I went in complete burnout, which your presentation very resonated with me. Ken from Ochaka Retreat Center graciously allowed me to come to our place and find a healing place. Because after 20 years of seeing what we see, make the decision that we do. I trained students for 7 years, knowing what I was sending them into, not always emotionally prepared with what we are seeing. I'm sorry. I needed a place to heal and to reset my nervous system, to sleep at night for the first time in 15 years, because we don't sleep much on top of the shift, day, night, and extra hours and everything that we do. When we close our eyes at night, we see things that we would like to forget. I can do equine therapy at Kim's Place. I can bring other people from public safety, veterans, nurses, from the ER, from the ICU, to emotionally release and reset, to reset the nervous system, because that's what we need for ourselves as well. So I'm here on behalf of the Ochaka Ranch, because that's a place that is needed for citizens to reset. And I'm talking mostly for the providers, because that's my background. So paramedic, fire, law enforcement, but also veterans and ER nurse and ICUs are mostly the one that I'm thinking about. We work with horses and ponies, and we get pet goats, and realign and learn how to just rebalance ourselves to be able to function and have a better quality of life with our family and for retirement later on. Otherwise, we become dysfunctional, and then it just tumbles from there. My goal is to prevent that for myself and everybody else in my situation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk.
Joseph Tate.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Tate. I'm a volunteer and board member at Hachoka Retreat Center. I'm here today to advocate on behalf of Hachoka. Hachoka Retreat Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that serves Burke County and the surrounding area through equine therapy and rehabilitative services, and by helping the less fortunate access housing. In my time at Hachoka, I have seen firsthand how being around horses brings people's innermost feelings to the surface, allowing them to work those feelings out and heal. I've seen how this helps people dealing with mental illness, PTSD, and developmental challenges. I have seen how engaging in tough, sometimes very difficult, but always rewarding farm work can help people get a better sense of what they enjoy and what they are capable of. And I've seen how Hachoka can help people who are homeless or just down on their luck move into a positive and encouraging environment that can help them build security in their lives and grow as people. I can't quite understand Burke County's stance towards Hachoka, how they've acted towards something that provides so much value to the people of Burke County. Therefore, I'm asking for Hachoka Retreat Center to be granted tax-exempt status in Burke County to match its federal nonprofit 501c3 status, for the county to respond to Hachoka's request for validation of incorrect property value assessment. I want to see these issues promptly decided in favor of Hachoka Retreat Center so that the organization can take the large amount of effort being expended on this needless and protracted struggle that benefits no one and redirect that energy towards helping the people of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Madam Clerk.
Marshall Love.
I'm Marcia Love, actually, and from Elkin, North Carolina, but I'm a lifelong friend of Ms. Clark, and I am a board member with Hachoka. Hachoka's mission is basically simply to help and heal people less fortunate, disabled, PTSD, homeless, just people that need help, whatever their situations may be. It's a very small operation, nonprofit, but they've been held back for nearly 3 years now, waiting for Burke County to make the decision of tax exemption for this nonprofit organization. The county's placed extreme tax values on items that have no monetary value, but are needed for the function of the farm, things as simple as a feed bucket. There's no profit to be made at this farm. There are no paychecks paid to anyone. We operate on charity, donations, volunteers, love, and a lot of power from God. We would like to convert some space and possibly do a few tiny homes to help people in transition. Just an example, maybe teenage girls that age out of the system have nowhere to go, no life experience, a place that they can learn to live on their own, gain employment, learn responsibilities, and just adjust to the next step. Hachoka wants to help and provide this kind of support to a multiple array of people. Burke County's preventing this next step that you all know so very needed to help people. Our request and pleas for answers seem to have been ignored to the extent that we have obtained legal counsel and filed a lawsuit, but we don't feel that we're getting any response. All we're asking is that Hachoka's request for tax exemption status be addressed so that we can proceed with some good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Love. Madam Clerk.
Kimberly Clark.
Hello, guys. I'd like to give y'all that. Y'all got emails, I believe, by our board chair, Chuck Garantana, who's in California right now. Last week, these testimonials. And anyways, I brought hard copies just to hand out for the record. Did y'all get those? That's a question. Did y'all get your email? Okay, thank you. Did y'all receive your emails with the testimonials? Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. So I'm Kimberly Clark, and I founded Healing with Horses many, many moons ago. I'm Native American, Nez Perce. So my blood lives the lands 1,000 years ago of America. And I was also, my family, some of the first veterans. And so veterans are dear, dear to my heart, the ones today that we serve. And we serve lots that come through the farm. So the purpose of us coming here today, outside of the lawsuit, we don't want to fight, you guys. We want to have camaraderie and peace and love, and we want to continue to serve. But the tax man made a wrongful tax valuation. I wrote y'all letters for 2 years and you ignored them. And I continued to write letters that you continued to ignore. Nobody responded until I went to see my father's attorney, Robert Grant, and he filed a lawsuit. And there's still been no response to that. So my next question is when do you, because Destin Hall is telling us that he's waiting on Brian Epley, and so we're just wanting to know, what are we waiting on? Like, my birthday's March 15th next year, Christmas is coming. I was told to make a joke about it. This is painful to my heart. Like, I don't enjoy war with you guys, and I would like to put it to rest. So when do you intend, and what is the process of making a decision?
I'll interject. There's pending lawsuits, and my gosh, they don't have any back and forth. I'll speak to Mr. Grant, as we've been doing over time, and hopefully reach some resolution in that case before too long. And of course, you can ask Mr. Grant to call me about this.
I don't need to ask Mr. Grant. I can talk pro se for myself, which is why I'm here. And I do deserve to have an answer, because you told Mr. Grant last that Brian Epley, it was in Brian Epley's hands. And so, you know, we intend to continue to come back. I was told 3 years ago to come here and make it on record. And I didn't because I didn't want to make it public. Because I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to do what is right and to respond, and you didn't. And the legal games need to stop because it's a bleed out at this point. That means y'all are bleeding out the farm's resources and not responding. Is there a reason why you haven't responded?
Mr. Chairman, the time's expired for the public comment. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Your comments are duly noted. Thank you.
That's all the cards I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right. Tonight, gentlemen, we have no consent agenda because we had no pre-agenda meeting this month, and so all those items are going to be taken up as we continue through the meeting. We have a number of decision items. This brings us to the first item of decision coming from our sheriff tonight. Resolution donating and surplus property. Sheriff Hanson, good evening.
Good to see you all this afternoon. We have some equipment that we would like to donate to area police departments, and we have to come and ask you all for permission to do that. All this is equipment that we have surplus or are surplusing. The first thing we'd like to donate, surplus and donate, is a 2021 Ford Explorer dog kennel. As you remember, I was here about 6 months ago to retire out Macho. That was our last K-9, and we would, Lenore Police Department is in need of a dog kennel that will fit that same vehicle. And ironically, they have a half cage that will fit the patrol car that we have, and they are willing to donate, not a trade, but they would donate that to us. So it would be beneficial for both of us. We also have a Drexel Police Department. We'd like to help them with a brush guard that fits a 2019 Dodge Charger, and also a brush guard that fits a 2016 Ford Explorer. And this equipment, as our cars age out, they won't fit anything that we will be buying moving forward. And then for Glen Alpine Police Department, we would like to donate an MDT, that's the computer that goes in the patrol cars, a stand, a computer stand for one of their patrol cars. And that's something that's come out of one of our patrol cars that we have surplused out. And I would rather see that equipment go to somebody that can use it than just go to some warehouse or even the county landfill. And we have a great working relationship with all of those agencies, and I would like to help them out if we can.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff. Any questions on this item? Seeing here none, gentlemen, we have a resolution allowing that donations. I hear a motion to adopt resolution 2025-23.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Item number 2, AAA Home and Community Care Block Grant. This will be presented tonight by Sarah Evitt, the Aging Program Manager, Western Piedmont COP. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Thank you for hanging with us.
Absolutely. I am Sarah Evitt. I'm the Aging Program Manager at Western Piedmont Council of Governments. The Home and Community Care Block Grant and related funding is granted to Burke County for the provisions for persons 60 and better. The Burke County Commissioners appointed the Burke Council on Aging as the planning committee, and the Western Piedmont Council of Governments is the lead agency for planning and to bring recommendations to you all for funding. The funded services in Burke County include adult daycare, medical and general transportation, congregate nutrition, home delivered meals, senior center operations, and housing and home improvement and in-home aid. The total funding for Burke County for FY 25-26 is $669,313. There is a 10% local match. Some of the providers do provide their own local match. For the county agencies, it's provided by the county, bringing the total for Burke County to $743,681. We are requesting that the Commissioners approve the Home and Community Care Block Grant for state fiscal year '26 for the funded services, the service allocations, and the provider designation from the Burke County Council on Aging.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on this item? All right, seeing none, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the Home and Community Care Block Grant funding allocations as recommended by the Burke County Council on Aging, and approve the HCCBG agreement between Burke County and the Western Piedmont Council of Governments Area Agency on Aging for fiscal year 25-26, subject to review and/or revision by the county attorney. Further authorize the chairman to authorize to execute the aforementioned documents.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much. All right, item number 3 comes from the Board of Commissioners tonight. This is the designation of voting delegate at NCACC conference. Gentlemen, this is our annual state county commission conference coming up in August. I think most of us plan to attend. Gentlemen, I plan to be there. Mr. Vice Chair plans to be there. And gentlemen, we would entertain a motion unless there's question or a dissent in the group that myself and Vice Chair be designated as the alternate delegate to vote at the annual conference. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the designation of yourself, Chairman Britton, as Burke County's voting delegate, and Vice Chairman Smith as the alternate voting delegate for the NCACC annual conference in August 2025.
Thank you, Commissioner Berry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right, this comes from the clerk. Item number 4, reappointment to BDI, presented by Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to make an appointment to seat number 3 on BDI, which is an at-large seat, and it was occupied by Jim Toner, and his term has expired, and he is not seeking reappointment. The term is the remainder of a term ending December 31st, 2027, and you have several applications on file.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. As the clerk has noted, we do have several nominations on file, and I'll entertain nominations at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint Mike Watts to BDI seat number 3 at large to complete the remainder of a term ending 31 December 2027.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Are there any other nominations? Seeing and hearing no other nominations, I'll close nominations and entertain vote on this item. All those in favor of seating Mr. Mike Watts to the BDI position, all those by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right, thank you very much. Brings us to item number 5, also coming from the clerk, appointment to Burke Senior Center Advisory Council. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to remove Michael Queen from the roster of the Burke Senior Center Advisory Council to reappoint Barbara Houston, Susan Janney, and Gwen Huffman. The term for Barbara Houston, who occupies seat number 4, is a term ending March 31st, 2027, and Susan Janney and Gwen Huffman, seats 5 and 6 respectively. That term would end March 31st, 2028.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, you've heard this information. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion as read by the clerk.
All right, thank you. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. Thank you very much. Item number 6, reappointments to the Animal Advisory Board, also coming from the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to reappoint Dr. Jenny McGrady to the Animal Advisory Board, seat number 2 vet, for a term ending July 31st, 2027, to reappoint Debbie Hawkins, seat number 4, at-large pet owner, for a term ending July 31st, 2027, to remove Liz Boyd Oliver's name from the official roster and thank her for her service, to appoint Linda Arriaga to seat number 6, breeder, for a term ending July 31st, 2027, and to remove Adam Abernathy's name from the official roster and thank him for his service to the community.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on this item? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion, Chairman, as Madam Clerk has read it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stroud. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Item number 7, clerk appointments to the Regional Aging Advisory Committee. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to appoint Josette Taylor to seat number 4 on the Regional Aging Advisory Board to complete the remainder of a term ending June 30th, 2027. Stephanie Berry occupied this seat and has served the maximum number of terms allowed.
Right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any question on this item? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. Item number 8, also from the clerk, appointments to the America 250 North Carolina Committee. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request to appoint Dr. Sylvia Medford to the America 250 Planning Committee, representing seat number 10, Daughters of the American Revolution, to complete the remainder of a 3-year term ending April 15, 2028.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any question on this item? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint Dr. Sylvia Medford to seat 10 on the America 250 Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Item number 9, also from the clerk, reappointments and removals to the Child Protection, Child Fertility Prevention Team. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, as you may recall, when we met as the Board of Health, a week, 10 days ago, I mentioned that there had been some legislative change to the membership of the local child fatality review team, and the at-large seats were removed in that new legislation. So this is a request to remove, basically for bookkeeping, the at-large seats on the Child Protection, Child Fatality Prevention Team roster due to legislative changes, and thank Chris Jernigan, Chris Norman, Beth Reuter, Dylan Smith, and Damon Patton for their service. And we also need to reappoint Kathy Smith to seat number 15 to complete the remainder of a term ending April 30th, 2028, and grant an exception to Section 2-88A residency requirement of the Burke County Code.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on this item? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to remove and then to reappoint as the clerk has read.
Thank you, Commissioner Barry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Item number 10 comes from Community Development, approval of contract for providing planning and zoning services to the town of Glen Alpine. This will come from Mr. Glines, our planning director. Alan?
Thank you. The town of Glen Alpine has requested Burke County support, community development with their planning and zoning needs for the town. We have a similar contract with the town of Connolly Springs. They would like for us to help them since they had a retirement a few years back, and they've been trying to keep up and catch up and do the right thing. So this agreement will formalize the county support by outlining scope of services to be provided for the town. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alan. Any questions on this item? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the contract between Glen Alpine and Burke County for the planning and zoning services, further to authorize the county manager to execute all related documents subject to review and/or revision by the county attorney.
Thank you, Commissioner Barry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Item number 11, coming from the county manager, approval of budget amendment, $177,000. Mr. Manager.
Thanks, sir. This is largely to bolster our emergency operations plan, certainly after the sheltering needed and limited capacity of the first few days of Hurricane Helene. Our team found and applied for a North Carolina Public Safety shelter capacity grant. This grant is $177,000. It does three fundamental things. One, at each of our designated sheltering locations, it provides connection for three-phase power It also buys a generator to put at Foothills Higher Education Center, along with a transfer switch at First Baptist Hildebrand. So, again, no local match, $177,000 state grant, looking to budget that so we can make those improvements to our emergency operations plan.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any questions on this item? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve budget amendment number 1 in the amount of $177,000 as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Item number 12, also from the manager, approval of budget amendment $200,000. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, sir. This was following up with a Department of Commerce grant several years ago. Maynard Electric was a part of an active economic development project referred to as Project Piano at the time. They applied for and were granted a building reuse grant in the amount of $200,000. They've now met the job requirements for the state. So we need to budget these dollars so we can draw that down and ultimately pass it through to the company for performance met. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on this item? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve budget amendment number 2 in the amount of $200,000 as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Item number 13, also from the manager, resolution establishing a task force on revaluation. Mr. Manager.
I'll be very quick. So revaluation, not much differently than our conversation earlier on Citizens Academy, looking for a way to engage with the community. This request from staff is asking the board to allow us to work alongside a task force, and I would frame task force as something with a limited shelf life, right? So we have advisory boards, planning board, many of the appointments that the clerk just ran us through that are ongoing. They have a continuation cycle. A task force is created for a specific purpose for a specific period of time. I like to start all things that we do with understanding our culture, our purpose, our values, and I really think this idea goes into this accountability and performance value that we have. We all know that revaluation is something that's mandated by state law. It's regulated by the North Carolina Department of Revenue. In North Carolina, real property, which are buildings and land largely, the value only changes every 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, however often the county local board of commissioners chooses to do a revaluation cycle. And those other years it stays static. The other components of property tax, personal property and motor vehicles and industrial change every year based on market. So over time, as the market changes, and market we'll talk about in a moment, as it elevates or declines, but that real property tax value stays flat, it creates differentiation that during the revaluation cycle is intended to level set. When you look across North Carolina, that's again, this idea is something that's mandated to all 100 counties. This year, there were 31 counties in 2025 that went through a revaluation cycle. The average adjustment to tax values to make it come more in line with market was 55.5%. We all remember the 2023 revaluation that Burke County did. It was 41%. And so that escalation of construction costs, which largely drives the market replacement cost of housing, has what's created that differentiation. In 2026, next year, there'll be 12. And then in 2027, if things continue as they are, there'll be about 23, so about a quarter of the market doing a revaluation at that time. So North Carolina law requires that counties do a revaluation every 8 years. The Department of Revenue does recommend that you do it more frequently. Their recommendation is every 4 years. But there's a caveat inside of the 105 statute that says when your sales ratio is more than 15% higher or lower. So I'll give you an example. In 2008, 9, and 10, there were counties across North Carolina that had maybe they had done reevaluation in 2005 or 2006. And when property values declined substantially, their sales ratio was substantially higher than tax values. Again, those tax values don't change. Since that point, and typically in a period of rising prices, the inverse happens where market continues to climb, tax values stay static, and you end up with a situation where your tax values are more than 15% below quote, market value. And that also triggers a revaluation, and that's what cycle we're in here. So Burke County does have an adopted resolution that engages a 4-year revaluation cycle. That is optional in some situations, but for us and what we're trending at, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, we're substantially out of compliance with this 15% margin. So the Department of Revenue has already sent us a notification that we should begin planning in 2027, January 1, 2027 revaluation cycle. So this chart is just showing we have about $11.6 billion tax base. And this is breaking it down between real property, again, land and structures, personal property, which I like to tell people is if you turn the house upside down, it's all the stuff that would fall out. Motor vehicles, obviously, and then state boards, which are things like utility commission, AT&T, Duke Energy, those type of folks that are regulated at a state level. So 80% of our tax base only changes during a revaluation cycle. The other 21% obviously is updated annually. And there are other states who do it very differently. For example, in Virginia, there's a revaluation every single year. So real property is never out of market. They don't have a such thing as a revaluation, this cycled revaluation. So that market differentiation is called a sales ratio. And a sales ratio, again, is taking every deed transaction that goes through the Register of Deeds office in North Carolina, or in Burke County, is sent to the North Carolina Department of Revenue. And they run an analytic of, all controlled by the state, all the data is maintained and verified there from a quality assurance perspective, but they run an analytic where they take our the sales price of an arm's length transaction, and they define that. They compare it to the county's tax value, and then they calculate this sales ratio. So I put a quick example up here. Let's say a property just sold for $250,000, and Burke County had, based on our 2023 revaluation, a tax value of $225,000. Well, that would be a sales ratio of 90%, meaning that the tax value was 90% of the fair market value of the arm's length transaction of that sale. And so Department of Revenue uses that largely to make sure that they're monitoring how often counties should be doing a revaluation. That's I think their primary focus is to make sure that we're doing that consistently enough. This is from showing the change in median sales price for houses in Burke County from March of 23 to March of 24. And we've looked at this as an economic development predictor, but we saw almost 23% increase in average list price, but almost a 16% increase in median sales price in that 12-month period. From 24 to 25, that grew by another 6.5%. So we did revaluation January 1, 2023. We've since seen incredible escalation in construction costs, and remember, construction cost largely is what determines replacement cost or market value, and that's why our sales ratio has declined. And so again, I said that the statute's pretty specific about how the sales ratio is calculated, so they don't include non-arm's length. So if I have a quick claim, if I buy something for my family, those type things are not considered. These are truly market-based, willing buyer, willing seller, negotiated transaction amount that are calculated so that we have good data. So again, here's kind of the idea. If our sales ratio was 15% above or 15% below, what would be 100% market value? That's what's going to trigger this 4-year revaluation process. And based on the letter that we've received from the Department of Revenue, again, who's monitoring all that data, we're at about 75% today. So when we did our reval in 2023, we were able to get close to market. We still weren't there. We were at 99%. And in the first year after reval, we went to about 86, and today we're about 75. And we would expect, certainly there's been some leveling. Again, last 24 to 25, median sales price only grew by about 6.5%. So I don't think we'll see that continued sharp decline that we've seen over the last 2 years. But between now and 2027, I think it's reasonable to expect our sales ratio to continue to not pace with market and therefore staying online. That's not new for us. Here's just some peer counties, McDowell, Catawba, and Lincoln, who are all on the same revaluation cycle. And the trend line here for all of them, when you look at their sales ratio, was back to market during reval and then a significant decline in the very first year. So again, I think it's just a market condition of the environment. material costs, labor costs are driving construction costs, and construction costs is driving market and replacement. And the fact that we're not resetting those tax values, it creates a real challenge. So we also know that when we start talking about revaluation, and people hear that their property values may change, there's an assumption that their tax levy is going to change too. And I think that that is a really misunderstood topic, because this board ultimately, although you don't control the property value, the market should drive that. You do control the taxing rate. So I think it's an important part of the messaging so that our community understands. Just because the market is driving a change in value does not mean ultimately that that's going to be a change in taxing levy. Because again, just like you did in 2023, with roughly a 20% decrease in the taxing rate, you have the ability to consider that if and when the values do change after January 1, 2027. So that's where the idea of this task force came from. I think that, just as Commissioner Stroud said earlier, to have some level of advocacy and to have some level of additional connectivity and credibility with our community as we go through this process is something we would like to try to achieve. We know it's likely going to be a challenge to get to everyone because this, again, is a very misunderstood topic, but we do think that it can increase transparency. We do think that we can build trust and help educate. We think we can get feedback. And we also think that they can give us, some advice on future policy that we'll maybe be working on. So this idea of a non-elected group of citizens that are appointed by this board, these folks would apply just like the Citizens Academy. They would go fill out the same board application that is on our website. You all will get those and consider them. Now, we do have what we'd like you to consider is a 7-member task force that has some level of some folks that have some subject matter expertise in the world of either construction or risk management. So we put together these for your consideration. Someone who's actively employed in real estate, an active broker, or someone who does property appraisal. Again, because construction cost drives replacement costs, which drives market value, a licensed general contractor, I think, would have a good feel for how much does it cost to build a house, how much does it cost to repair a house. Someone actively employed in replacement costs, which would be insurance. We think having representation from the agricultural community as well as someone over the age of 55 is important. And then 2 seats at large. Again, Mr. Chairman, this could be expanded or contracted, or you could change all of those, but those are what we considered to be a fair distribution. So one of the big things that group will help us work on is the schedule of values. And I think that it's important to also understand that the revaluation process is a statistical analysis. It's basic arithmetic. The thing that drives the mass reappraisal process, reevaluation, is this schedule of values, which takes a substantial amount of time to put together, but it's a combination of tables and assumptions and principles that largely sets the cost per square foot for a ranch-style house, or a house with 10-foot ceilings, or a house that has a pool. There are literally, I'll describe it as longitude and latitude tables that go through that are approved. These schedules have to be approved, and then they're applied to the specific asset based on our characteristic listing. It's inside the tax system to calculate a value. It's not a value of opinion. Sometimes when people have an appraisal of their house, they believe, they see that as here's the 5 comps, and there's a discretionary, and that's a singular approach to appraisal, not mass appraisal. Mass appraisal is much more both based on the characteristics of the asset as it's applied to this schedule of values. Now, important to know that statute requires that we draft a schedule of values. There has to be a public hearing on it, and this Board of Commissioners has to approve it. So what we would see this, this group doing is working through, first of all, the principles and the definitions. For example, market value, looking at the neighborhood. So we'll take the 503 square mile county that is Burke County and divide it up into neighborhoods. And that means, so part of your value calculation is based on where you geographically are located. And you can see that. So it'll be things like, again, average per acre cost, zoning, location, whether it's residential or commercial, ceiling heights, whether it's a colonial style house or again, a brick ranch, like the year it was built, all of those things, depreciation, all of those are, part of the justification. And it's really these 5 things. There's valuation standards, land valuation, which is kind of the first step, is what is the average, when you look at sales data, for land sales that have nothing on them, what's the average land value in Burke County? And then you develop kind of a table for that, and then you're able to apply a structure based on these other components. And then the last thing is present use value. So much of our property in Burke County is in horticulture or farm use or forestry. So we have to develop present use values too. And typically, counties in North Carolina adopt a schedule that is put together by NC State, and there's a group from the state cooperative extension level. They travel the entire state. They put together this manual, these recommendations of values, cost per acre, so that it's more uniform for the agricultural community across the state. And typically that's adopted into a local county schedule of values. But again, and I thought I would put up an example of what this kind of looks like, and this would be, hundreds of pages and thousands and thousands and thousands of data points when it's all fully put together. But here you can see the land value calculation, and then the characteristics of the structure and the valuation there. And it's these components that drive the value. So one of the things that this board will have to approve is for a residential use, ranch style house, that it's an average quality, what is our basis of square footage, right? And that should be based on a series of data-driven market conditions. But we'd like to propose this task force being created, meeting every 60, 90, 120 days, but several times between now and the next 6 to 8 months, and hearing from our staff, looking at the market data that they're pulling, and that helps us draft a schedule of values. And then obviously staff will be reporting to you all periodically through this process, as often as you'd like, what that advisory board is endorsing and what part of the process we're in. We know that values have to be set by January 1, 2027. We anticipate the schedule of values being adopted by this board in November. We think they'll be presented to you in August and holding a public hearing, similar to the budget. So you get it presented, hold a public hearing, and then you have to adopt. So we've worked backwards from there. We're in July 25, so we basically have 18 months. I think it's important to say that our goal is to do this revaluation process in-house. Historically, Burke County has contracted that out. It's about $1 million cost. So we're going to be able to save taxpayers about $1 million by doing this in-house, and we feel strongly about the quality and the timeliness. We've already really had to begin some of the work to hit our deadlines, but want to do so with the board's support and for everybody to feel like we're producing a highly transparent and meaningful document when we get to the point where you all are asked to take formal action. Happy to answer any questions you may have, Mr. Chairman or members of the board, but that's the request from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any questions to Brian on this item? All right, seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-21.
You've heard the resolution, the motion. What's the pleasure of the board? 5-0, Madam Clerk. Item number 4, also from the county manager. Get on back down here. Offer to purchase county-owned property, Kowal, however you say that.
Daniel Cowell.
Cowell.
So Mr. Cowell has made an offer on a piece of county-owned property. He, since I've been manager here, Mr. Chairman, he is the only person who's bought county-owned property. He's from Florida. He's never seen any of these sites, and he simply attests that they're for investment purposes. I thought it was important just to provide a little context on the competitive bidding process that's required by local governments. Just like you had to surplus brush guards for the sheriff to donate to another local government, staff doesn't have the authority to surplus assets. which I think is a good control measure. Real property is in a league of its own. There's a specific law about real property. It takes first recognition that it's surplus, and then someone has to make an offer. You all have to consider the offer, accept it, and then there's a mandatory 10-day upset bid process that has to work through. And really all of that's governed by statute. Burke County does have a policy, but as the attorney and I spoke, I'm not sure it's necessary when the law is as descriptive as what you have to do inside of this framework. The particular property that we're talking about here is in the Eichard area, 0 Westview Trail. So the property's up here in the far left corner. I know that's difficult to see. I zoomed out and put it up here just to show you, and it still didn't work. The airport is about right here. The Hickory Airport is, I'm going to call it a mile if you could fly straight. So it is very, very close in proximity. I thought I was in, no, maybe that's it. It's hard to tell from the photo, but it is very close to the airport in Hickory. And it's about a 0.45 acre tract. The county inherited that property via tax foreclosure in 2014. Our direct cost for back taxes and closing costs and all those type of things are a little over $2,200. Now, I think this is important because typically there is tremendous value to getting a piece of property out of the public hands and putting it back on the tax scrolls and starting to recoup some investment. I think that generally that's something that we try to put some priority on and take into consideration. For this particular property, it has utilities. The topography is fairly sufficient for building. We haven't, now it's in a tax exempt status because the county owns it, but the assessed value we have on it is $15,390. Mr. Cowell has made an offer of $1,500. If we accepted that bid and we began the upset bid process and no one else, was competitive in that, and then we ended up selling the property to him, it would go on the tax scrolls at the assessed value, the $15,000. But for perspective, that's going to generate $85 a year in property tax value. So I share all that to say, unlike many of the properties that we have been able to sell, and ultimately staff's responsibility is to bring to the board what has been offered. This, from my perspective and I think from a staff's perspective, not that we're not eager to get it out of our control and back onto the private tax books, but I think the property is likely worth substantially more than what Mr. Cowell's offered. And I also think that at this point, we would be 11 years and $700 in the hole if we accepted this offer. But you have two options, and one is to approve this resolution, surplusing the property, beginning the mandatory upset bid process. Option two is to deny this $1,500 bid, direct staff to go back and advise Mr. Cowell that he may make a higher offer, and then we would bring that back, or we may continue to advertise. Really, when you look at this property, I mean, it's hard for me to understand why someone wouldn't be willing to pay more. I think it's in a highly residential neighborhood with full utilities, good road access, NCDOT maintained roads, 0.45 acres, which, it's highly suitable for residential use. So happy to answer any questions you may have, sir.
Any questions on this item?
Yeah, I just want to agree. We talked about this, and I just don't think we can give stuff away when we've got assets and it's worth more, especially out by the airport, especially where there's water and sewer. I mean, hey, $1,500. I mean, come on now. That's just me.
Other questions, comments?
We can't offer any guidance as to what a minimum bid should be, can we?
You can, yeah.
I would think that it would need to at least be the $2,200 we haven't invested in 11 years back taxes as a minimum.
A minimum.
Because there's people all around that have paid their taxes for 11 years, and they shouldn't get a break from that just because we owned it.
Can that go back to public auction?
Can it go back?
If we reject this offer, can that piece of land go back to public auction?
Yeah, it would just stay in our surplus portfolio, for lack of a better word, and anybody in the whole world can make a bid on it. Yes, sir. I mean, I guess it's constantly in public auction. It's not an auction like.
But people don't know about it, right?
We need to do a much better job and to your point, Commissioner Berry has asked us to build kind of a map of all of those things, and our GIS team is working on that. We should have that available on our website pretty quickly.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may weigh in as well, important to remember in what's being proposed that if you do approve it, it's just the initial offer that this gentleman's making. It still has to be bid out. You have to give notice in the paper for upset bids. I find that the requirement for notice in the paper really is not that meaningful anymore, so I usually encourage local